Good evening and welcome to Anime-Zing Radio here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I'm your host, Doug Engler. Joining me as always in the co-host seats are our good friends, Miss Angela Rose
Hi, everyone.
and Mr. Darren Starling.
Hello, an hour from the future. An hour into the future.
Back to the future.
Yes, lovely daylight savings times is back.
Where we
Yup.
all lost an hour of sleep and are grumpy as hell. No.
No, but I could go on a lovely ramble about daylight savings time, but
And hello, John. And hello to everybody who is tuning in, whether you're tuning in via the podcast platforms or live while we're on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. It's great to have everybody coming in and hanging out with us. We do want to remind everybody that Anime-Zing Radio is brought to you tonight by Home Circle Media. For the latest and greatest in anime gear, everything from pens, pencils, stationery, and officially licensed art books, be sure to check out homecirclemedia.com today or look for them at an upcoming convention near you. We're also brought to you by Triple S Lawn Care. If you're in the Raleigh-Durham area and you need your lawn taken care of, be sure to reach out to Triple S Lawn Care. They'll do a great job at a great price.
Yes, 'tis the season. Come on down.
And we have a lot
my
of
schedule.
we have so many awesome people in the chat already. Hello to John Knight, Issa J, Mario is here, Ross Luck. Great to see everybody. Mario was messaging me earlier and saying that we should think about turning this into a podcast and uploading it places, which I told him we're just about everywhere.
Yup. Basically, what I should do is take some time that I don't necessarily have and actually edit stuff. But instead, I just take the raw audio from the live show and put it up. It's on Spotify. I think the only place it's not is Apple, because I could not get Apple Music to cooperate.
Yeah, they suck.
That's why I'm an Android user.
That being said, it's on Spotify. It's on yay. There's pretty much a lot of podcast platforms out there. I made it so that we're on all the ones I could get.
So come check us out on the wonderful world of podcast platforms.
Yep.
But this week has been chock full of, dare I say, bombshells in the anime world.
Which is an understatement.
But let's start I'm going to start with the lesser of the big ones.
What, Rooster Teeth?
Yep. Because while Rooster Teeth 21 years as a entity, and it is Warner Brothers has decided to end it. They're looking for people to buy the IPs for RWBY, the final season of Red vs. Blue, Genlock, which is Michael B. Jordan's anime. But that's a thing that happened. As someone who watched RWBY obsessively since the day the trailers dropped, I am sad by this, but at the same time, the company had evolved so much that there was very little there's very little of their current content that I was still taking in by this point.
Plus, as you know, time has gone by and anime went from being only found in a couple of places to everywhere. It's tough to stick with just one certain media, especially if they're not producing stuff that piques your interest.
It's also just the evolution of, I mean, I believe online entertainment has evolved has evolved a ton over the past 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
John Knight, did you watch RWBY at all? Because John Knight said in the chat they did not watch anything from Rooster Teeth. RWBY, Genlock, would be the big ones recognizable to anime fans.
I have not watched any of those.
Same here. I'm very familiar with the characters due to seeing them at conventions as one of the popular cosplays, but in general, I've never watched Ruby.
And Mario says that he watched everything.
I mean, Ruby also has the distinction of being, if I'm not mistaken, the first American anime to get a Japanese dub. Issa, correct. Rooster Teeth also did Camp Camp. I didn't watch more than a couple episodes of that. I kind of forgot about it. But yep, Camp Camp. There were other animated. There was other animated content that they put out. I didn't particularly watch any of it. Ross in the chat says the original Ruby season 1 he watched, didn't like, and then did watch Genlock. Well, this kind of ties into there's so much anime out there that there's something for everyone.
Exactly. Something else that we did this week, just to switch topics, and I apologize to all of our awesome viewers out there who probably missed our appearance on a podcast on this past Thursday, but we were guests on Ben Santos's new show Con Air. It's over on Twitch. Feel free to go over to Twitch and check out Cosplay Convention Center, and you can watch the episode where we were guests. So instead of us asking the questions, we were answering them. It was kind of neat. The problem was, as of our show last Sunday, I didn't know if I was going to have Thursday off to be able to do that. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to make any comments or posts about it until I knew exactly if I had Thursday off, which we did. But check out his show if you're looking for a fun new podcast that's just starting out. It's a video podcast with Ben and his friend Jerry, who are the creators of the Cosplay Convention Center site. Ben was a guest on the show just a few weeks ago, and we were his first official guest on his new podcast in episode 2. Lots of hiccups for all of our veteran listeners out there. There are some technical issues that happen, so if you want to feel nostalgic about the early AZR days, be sure to check that out.
Yes, but we had video features which were new in comparison.
You also got to hear the background of a lawnmower.
You also got to hear the background of Boston City rush hour traffic.
So lots of fun stuff. And like I said, Ben's got some big things planned. So you definitely, especially if you're into Transformers, Ben's a huge Transformers nerd, and he's got an amazing guest coming up. So you definitely want to keep watching his channel. He's got some good stuff going on. But we do thank Ben for having us on. It was a lot of fun, and it's been a while since I'd actually sat in the guest chair as opposed to the host or co-host chair. It's a whole different feel.
Plus, we got to experience what it was like to use a different streaming platform, even though y'all weren't behind the controls.
Yeah. I still kind of like StreamYard just because it's probably just because I understand it better, but
Streamlabs has a lot of really cool features, but there's definitely a massive learning curve. I looked into it, but and from the chat, on another positive note of sorts, there's going to be a new Mario movie at some point.
I never watched the first one.
By the first one, you mean the one that came out recently or the one that came out in the 80s?
Any of them. So all the above.
Fair. But
Also announced this week, coming out. I think it was slated for spring 2025. Killing slimes for 300 years, and now I maxed out my level. Season 2 has officially been announced. Been waiting 2 years for that.
Something
But-
like that.
someone in the comments already brought it up, and I've got to find the comment. But the other really big thing in anime news that really kind of took the world by storm was Akira Toriyama passing away, who really was the gateway to a lot of people getting into anime.
Yes. There's actually a clip, if possible, I want to play. And this is just from another TikToker, so it should be fairly safe to play on air. But Dragon Ball as a whole influenced quite a few countries, almost to the point where it ended up in a legal battle. And let me see if I can find the clip real quick.
Go for it.
I know I sent it to somebody.
Did you send it to?
No, I did not send it to y'all.
No.
I know I sent it to somebody. Oh, here it is. So, Doug or Ange, if y'all could pull that up on Facebook and put it up on screen to share audio, that would be pretty cool.
I'll let Ange do that. She looks like she's already.
I was gonna say, where'd you post it? Oh, did you?
It's in the group chat.
All right, let me.
While Ange is doing that, just announced from Anime Boston, Japanese voice actor Yukana Oz. She is best known for anime roles like Cece from Code Geass, Tessa from Full Metal Panic, Cecilia Alcott from Infinite Stratos, and more.
Oh, the British accent.
Share screen.
So she has just been announced for Anime Boston. They've been going all out with the Japanese guests this year.
That is what I want. Okay, let's.
And did you click the thing to share audio?
And Mexico. Dragon Ball has been beloved around the
Was that playing or was it not?
That was playing.
All right. In that
All right.
case,
You could scroll to the next one and then flip back. It should start from the beginning.
Goku almost caused a diplomatic incident between Japan and Mexico. Dragon Ball has been beloved around the world for decades, and one of the places that enjoys the adventures of Goku the most has been Mexico. When the climactic finale of Dragon Ball Super was set to air, it was advertised across the country as if Goku vs. Jiren was a historic boxing match. The advertisements were so large that the Embassy of Japan stepped in to say that the viewing venues in Mexico can't host viewing parties if they go against Japanese streaming regulations. You can see here in a letter that the Japanese government sent to the governor of a Mexican city that was hosting a viewing party for Dragon Ball Super's finale. Another city, the city of Juarez, went one step further to negotiate with the government of Japan for the rights to stream Dragon Ball Super at their massive stadium. They were able to reach a deal that let them stream Goku and Jiren's final battle to tens of thousands of eager fans who have loved Dragon Ball for decades. Goku almost caused a
So that's just a small portion of how Dragon Ball influenced the world. And even when managing Facebook pages, we always notice that the Hispanic community, be it Mexico, Spain, any of the Spanish speaking countries, were huge Dragon Ball followers. There were several Dragon Ball pages that were exclusive to those regions because they didn't want to be pursued by Crunchyroll, Funimation, any of the legal entities from the US that would hit them with DMCA claims.
Interesting.
But I I think we can pretty much all agree that without Dragon Ball, Funimation would not have become the company that it did.
Yeah.
I'm very much inclined to agree. Now, I I got shown a couple episodes of Dragon Ball. I didn't care for it, not for me. But its influence on the world is something to be 100% respected.
Um,
Oh,
I got
definitely.
into I got into the Dragon Ball franchise a little late. It wasn't until the early 2010s when they were showing Dragon Ball Z Kai, which was the redo of the Dragon Ball Z series. It was just took out a lot of the filler episodes and condensed everything down. I watched it and then was a little confused to certain points, so I went back and watched the original Dragon Ball and then went through Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, all the movies, and that's all that was out at the time. It wasn't until, and then of course I purchased the DVD box set because there was a whole, I think it was like 19, 17 total seasons. It was like 5 seasons of Dragon Ball, 12 seasons of Dragon Ball Z, or 9 seasons of Dragon Ball Z. I forget which. It's something like that. And then 2 seasons of Dragon Ball GT, and then all the movies. I think it was like $250. And that's when a lot of sites were being targeted at the time by SOPA and PIPA, bills that were introduced in Congress that would have basically gone after any kind of illegal streaming. And that's when I don't know if y'all remember Mega Upload, but that site was shut down as a result.
John Knight in the chat said that he started watching Dragon Ball Z back in 2004. I personally have never seen any of it, but of course, it's an iconic franchise that anime would not be where it is today if it wasn't for Dragon Ball and the works that he did.
Mm-hmm.
And there
and
were
the amount of
stories. Oh, go ahead, Darren.
I was gonna say, and the amount of references in other anime is iconic as well. I think Watch Mojo put out a video of the 10 most epic Dragon Ball cameos in anime. It had stuff from shows like Blood Lad, Gintama, Flip Flappers, Yuri.
I mean, isn't just the whole rival face thing?
No, they went Super Saiyan. They used Goku's Kamehameha. They went everything, and then of course Gintama, being the parody gag anime that it is, literally went as far as copying the character designs to as far as copyright would let them get away with, and actually interacting in scenes that would probably happen in the Dragon Ball series.
And I had heard on a different note, I had heard a story, or I'd read a story online about that Toriyama had talked to at the time an up and coming manga artist whose work had continuously been rejected from Shonen Jump, and he convinced him to just keep pushing. And finally, when that up and coming manga artist stuff finally was accepted, it was the creator of Bleach. So with the encouragement from the Dragon Ball creator, we got Bleach. And who knows how many other influential pieces of anime and manga and media came based off of the work that he did.
Did you read Oda, the author of One Piece's response
No,
to Toriyama's death?
I did not.
I skimmed. I think I skimmed it, but I don't remember.
But I think he put out something I want to say it was the creator of Naruto that put out something. I don't. There was quite a few people in the industry in Japan that put out notes regarding Toriyama just because of how big of an influence he was. Rightfully so.
Oh, definitely. And even though, as I said before, it was nothing that I was really ever interested in for Dragon Ball or anything like that, I still have nothing but the utmost respect for the work that he produced because, as we've said, the anime industry would not be where it is today without the work that he did.
Apparently, in Final Fantasy 14, there was tributes going on across multiple worlds, people gathering in I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, Ul'dah, home of the Pugilist Guild, to pay tribute. People dressing up their characters as Dragon Ball cosplays, slime hats, and bards. Uh, One of the other things Toriyama did was the art from the Dragon Quest games, including the slime that we all know. And
And don't
trying.
forget his other works. Let's see, Doctor Slump, who also managed to integrate its way into the Dragon Ball universe when Goku was a kid, and then also brought them back in Dragon Ball Super, where Aurelie, one of the main characters of Doctor Slump, was beating the crap out of Vegeta, and the only reason is because she's a gag character.
I'm trying to aware who. So many of my friends on Facebook posted so much about this that I can't find the one thing I'm looking for. Say Levy.
Well, when you're responsible for the creation of so much content and influence in the world, it you can only go through so much.
Apparently, there's going to be a new TV adaptation of Toriyama's Sandland, a desert adventure story that was released in 2000, later adapted into a 2023 anime movie, is due to be released on Disney Plus in the spring.
Hmm.
And this is coming from CBS News website. Because I was scrolling through, looking at a few different news blurbs about Toriyama. He made his manga debut in 1978 with the adventure comic Wonder Island, published in the Weekly Shonen Jump magazine. His Dr. Slump series, which started in 1980, was his first major hit. It made him a celebrity, but Toriyama avoided the spotlight. In 82, he told Japanese public broadcast NHK, "I just want to keep writing manga." And
Probably the biggest shock regarding all this was the fact that they were currently releasing more Dragon Ball content and had many plans in the works. So it's going to be a matter of who's going to pick that up. Or
yeah,
is it going to get picked up? Or is it going to go the way of like a lot of these other series when their creator passes away? Like, is a series still the same series after its original creator passes away?
You know what? I'm going to bring this full circle. And the one example I could come up with and say that Ruby definitely had a shift after Monty died. You can definitely tell. You could definitely tell they kept his influences but there was definitely, you could definitely tell it was different.
And kind of on the same note, but totally different scenario, even though this creator didn't necessarily die, they made a sequel series out of something that was never intended to be a sequelized series. Um, Don Bluth, who directed the original Land Before Time movie, intended that to be a one and done movie. And then then the creators talked into a sequel, and he didn't want any part of it, and subsequently exited the franchise as a whole.
And then you welcome to the era of direct to video movies and too many sequels and my childhood.
And
Exactly.
final episodes, part
And
4286.
leave Attack on Titan out of this. That's not relevant.
Another death in the anime world that happened recently, Tarako Isono, um, I think she was a Japanese voice actress, or from what I'm seeing, it says Filipino star. So she might have been Filipino, or maybe it came from the Philippine Star media. But she was the voice of Kirara in Inuyasha. Um, I'm reading through here. That's best known for her role as the happy-go-lucky and occasionally troublemaking little girl from long-running anime series Chibi Makuro-chan. Um, Apparently, she passed away recently at the age of 63.
She played the character for 35 years. Wow.
In other nonsensical entertainment news, on a lighter note, another thing that got announced this week, we've got a fight announced: Mike Tyson and Jake Paul.
The fact Mike Tyson is going back into the boxing ring is just ridiculous.
I mean, Jake Paul is ridiculous.
I don't even know
Mhm.
who he is.
Well, he made himself internet famous for the stupidest reason way back when.
Uh, how do I put this and still be respectful?
You
I
don't.
don't think you have to be respectful.
Yes, okay. Part of Japan. This kind of gets into the difference between Eastern culture and Western culture. And in Japan, there is a place called the Suicide Forest.
Yep.
I don't. And welcome to my house. But basically, Logan Paul and basically they became famous for doing what they should not have done, and basically did a video from the Suicide Forest, and bad juju.
Okay.
Hence, respectful.
Yeah.
And then since then, they've gone on to they became extremely successful at marketing themselves and their various projects. Love them or hate them.
Hey, bad attention is still attention.
And on the internet, any attention is good attention.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at the chat, Ross says news for Doug from last weekend: reincarnated as a sword has ended. I thought they were supposed to be getting a second season. Did they just decide that
It,
they
it,
weren't going to do it?
it's talking about the source material.
Oh, okay.
According to Ross, Darren needs to watch Hackadoll parody of Goku versus Cell.
Well, Team Four Star, one of the people that was on Team Four Star, he runs his own YouTube channel, Devil's Artemis, and he took the original Cell versus videos that Team Four Star did a little further and has basically done a whole compilation. Every time you turn around, Cell's facing somebody else, or there's some sort of comedy going on, and Kermit the Frog is his partner.
From John Knight, the English dub for Blue Exorcist, Shimane Illuminati Saga, Parens Season 3 is now streaming on Crunchyroll.
And
That was one anime my friend tried to get me to watch way back when, but I never continued it.
And I didn't really know a lot of Team Four Star stuff, but we got to meet them at Kineticon a few years ago, and got a really epic video clip from them because my wife is a fan of theirs, and that she wanted to hear a specific skit, which they still had the script on their phone. It's not exactly PC, so I won't talk much about it here, but it was absolutely hysterical.
Wait for an 18+ show again.
I'm not sure where that video clip is now. I know I have it somewhere.
I've heard you play it before.
Is it on the drive that's plugged into my computer currently?
Maybe. I know originally it was a video, so. Oh, Ross says the web novel of Sword has ended. Okay.
Didn't you post that to our YouTube channel, Doug? I'm pretty sure you did.
I probably did.
Now you got me wanting to find it.
There are videos on here.
Now I'm curious, so I am going back through looking, because it would be a few years ago.
Well, there's a folder on here. There's stuff on this drive that goes back to 2019, if not before.
I do not see the video with them up here, unless it got put in the Kineticon 2021 video. I don't even, was it 2021 they were there? I don't remember.
I was about to say, I'm looking back through the videos. Kineticon interview, photo hall. It's in here somewhere.
I'm sure it's somewhere. I'm sure I can find it at some point. But that's a thing for another day. And but yeah, I've been seeing a lot of fan art about of a lot of other anime fandoms supporting the Dragon Ball fandom and everything. So it's great to see the anime world coming together, because as we've said multiple times, a lot of these franchises wouldn't be around, and especially the US and the outside of Japan market, without Dragon Ball, we really probably wouldn't have much knowledge outside of Pokemon and maybe a couple others of what anime is. And I could almost guarantee we wouldn't see the explosion of anime like we do now.
Nope. And as I touched on earlier, Funimation would likely not exist or have existed if it had not been for the Dragon Ball franchise, which was their big breakthrough in dubbed media.
Yeah.
and it's one of the very few shows where I thoroughly enjoyed the dub to the point where I'd prefer it over the sub.
Now we know there's not many shows that Darren would say that for.
And and that is something Darren and I agree on, actually, that there's I have a couple where I prefer the dub. There aren't many.
Ghost Stories is definitely a dub over a sub.
Still haven't watched that.
I've seen hundreds of clips from it, but never watched it. So therefore, I've watched it.
That's like saying you found the panty and stocking video where they say the F word. I think it was counted over 300 times, and the video is like 3.5 minutes long of every time the F word is said in the like that season 1 of Panty and Stocking.
So, in other words, if you have a death wish, play the drinking game with Panty and Stocking, right?
Pretty much. And every time that they say the F bomb in any way, shape, or form, including "Repent, Mother Trucker," as Monica Rial cleaned it up during a convention at one point.
Still curious how that new series is going to come out with them.
I'm curious as to how the new Spice and Wolf is going to come out. After seeing some of the art for the new series of Spice and Wolf, I'm kind of like mixed reviews on the art side of things, but I'm not going to let that deter me, because if I was going to let a change in art deter me, I never would have watched season 4 of DxD.
Yep.
So a lot of different stuff.
If I remember correctly, new Spice and Wolf is on the docket for next season.
I think so.
Which is coming up real fast, considering a couple of shows dropped to episode 11 today.
Yeah, we are. I did catch up on Fluffy Paradise today.
I'm actually convinced we're caught up. We're finally caught up on that, because we watched episode 11 a couple hours ago.
So did we. I got home from work. Evie had already had dinner. We gave her a snack. She went upstairs to play in her room, and we watched it in peace. Partially so we could hear the audio and read the subtitles. And it's still adorable, and she still needs to stop naming things.
Agreed.
Darren, I have a new show for you for I can't believe it's not hentai. Gushing over magical girls over the most recent episode. That is more Yuri than most Yuris claim to be.
In the chat, Ross is pointing out, letting us know that the High Dive app and website got rebooted to a totally new design. And according to him, it looks really cool. Thank you for sharing that, Ross.
Yeah, I did notice that because I was looking through High Dive earlier, and I was trying to figure out how to look through some things. They changed some stuff up, so it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve from what it was. And hello, De La Cruz. So glad you could tune in. He says, share the good news for those of you interested. De La Cruz is a coworker of mine. I told him about some of the good news that we received this week. Anime-Zing Radio has been approved for the 3rd year in a row for press for Anime Boston. So we are excited about returning to Anime Boston, being able to cover the show. Hopefully we'll be able to get some good interviews with some of the guests like we've gotten in the past. I'm not sure who's on the top of your docket, Angela, for the press interviews. I know last year you were really excited about Dante Bosco. I know this year Shibuya Kaho is one I'm interested in.
Ditto. She
Uh,
has been so entertaining in her content with Sea Dog VA.
The Duke of Death and His Maid season 3 scheduled for April 7th. John Knight says.
Yeah, it looks like the week of April 7th is when the new season is like over the course of that week is when a lot of stuff is dropping.
Ross in the chat says, "Congratulations, Doug. Yoshino is slapping her hand on the table, happy for you, saying great job. Hopefully, she's not hurting Yoshinon." But yeah, it took, and a lot of our loyal listeners and people who've been around for a while know that we tried for years to get press for Anime Boston to no avail, and all it took was getting approved once, and then the pandemic happened, and we missed 2 years of AB. But ever since then, we got approved for press, and due to the fact that we go into conventions with nothing but the utmost respect for the cons, the guests, the attendees, and we try to, you know, be as professional and respectful to everybody as we can. I think that's what has allowed us to continue to be in good graces with Anime Boston. Of course, having some of the staff members from Anime Boston on the show as well to promote them. We're hoping for good coverage again this year. We have some ideas for some fun little quick interviews with cosplayers and stuff. My wife noticed a trend. I don't know how many of like short video things like TikToks or YouTube shorts or stuff that you guys watch, but there was a trend where people are going around and asking cosplayers just what they did for a living, uh, and making like a 30-second or a minute long video about that from different events. And I've also seen um, them ask how much did your costume cost.
Yes, I saw that.
I don't know how many people would. I don't know how comfortable I. eh, I don't know if I want to go down that rabbit hole, but um, one of the other things I was actually talking with Erin over at Enchanted Sorcery Productions. One of the things that came up when we did our Anime Boston recording was the Maid Cafe, and how neither of us actually visited it last year, but always saw it being packed and a line. And we were actually talking about trying to do that, to go visit that this year and see if they would be okay with us taking, if not video, taking photos and posting stuff after the fact on social media.
Yeah.
Because again, mindful and respectful that some people might not want to be on video.
Oh, definitely. And as I've mentioned before on shows, and even when we do the live streams from the conventions, before I live stream, I'll talk to every vendor that I know physically will be in camera shot and ask permission to show off their wares, because some of them don't want to appear on
And I
camera and
distinctly
things of that
remember a
nature.
couple who were like more than fine with their table being in frame, but they wanted to ensure that the person was not,
Yep. And so we've
which is
always,
totally fine.
and that's why, if you're going to do videotaping or TikToks or things like that from a convention, especially if you're in an artist alley, which we highly discourage taking TikTok videos, photos, stuff of that nature in the vendors and dealers areas in the artist alleys, because they're so crowded to begin with. And there's a lot of people who wouldn't like to be in
It's one of those things where
those videos.
if you're going to do that kind of stuff, be smart about it, get permission from everybody involved, and be mindful of the crowds.
And side note, speaking of being on camera, Rail City Fan Fest had posted a video on their Instagram, I think it was, of news coverage from last year's convention. And they were and in one of the cosplayer interviews that the media outlet got, you can see the Anime-Zing radio table, Christy Rothrock table, and a little bit of Casey Fox table in the background.
That is pretty cool. Going back to the chat, because we've got some commentary. Data Live Season 5 scheduled for April 10th.
I haven't finished 4.
Same here.
4
And
wasn't very good.
Ross says, side rail note, although this is hardly a side rail, this year is the 25th anniversary of Digimon. Which, that kind of makes me feel old, but... And then some commentary about Digimon. Ross says that he hasn't played all the games because they're kind of hard, nor have I seen...
Eros Wars?
But seen everything since 99 Digimon, and in his opinion, better than Pokemon. As far as Digimon goes, I watched the most recent reboot. And then we watched some of Cross Wars. Watched some of Digimon Ghost Game, which eventually just got to Monster of the Week, and we just kind of stopped keeping up with it.
I have never seen Digimon.
It's one of my husband's favorites.
And sometimes it's hard to focus knowing that there's an Anya staring into my soul.
Yes, that was more of a how can I get Anya to stay in my little screen.
I every now and then just like scroll eyes going through. It's like Anya. Mario says, "Darren, go to your room now."
I'm in my room. I'm in my bed, thank you. So, what? You're not punishing me, sir.
There was a way that I could get that just to stay. So that you could just see Anya. Anya is what makes Spy Family so good in some ways.
Spy Family is just awesome, but we've digressed. Ross says Digimon Frontier is his favorite season besides the first 2.
And I have been kind of slacking. I am probably 2 or 3 episodes behind on Banished. It's kind of started to bore me. I hate to say that because of how much I loved season 1. Season 2 has just kind of been meh.
Well, there's not as much romance flying around, and on top of that, you're getting a look into Ruti, and you're also getting a look into the one that's trying to be her replacement.
Yeah.
Interfering with her trying to live her life.
And
so, I mean, while it's not exciting, it's not necessarily.
I'm not saying it's not bad.
At least it still has substance to it.
Yeah. Frieren still has been just as good. Frieren has. I'll hand it to Frieren for the longevity of it being interesting and exciting enough to have kept me interested in it at a high level.
Also from the chat, John Knight says, The Boy and the Heron wins the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. And that makes me extremely happy. I don't even know what it was up against, but that makes me happy. Because I loved that movie, and the dub cast was phenomenal. Normally, when I go to see the Miyazaki movies, more often than not, I try to do them subbed. This one we did dub, and worth it.
That reminds me, speaking of movies, I need to decide if I'm going to see Rascal Does Not Dream of a Knapsack Kid going out in theaters. It's either, I want to say it's next Sunday or the Sunday after. But if you want to watch the sub, it's on Sunday. If you want to watch the dub, it's the following day. I believe it's the 24th.
The 24th is right around PAX East time for me.
Yeah, because you have back-to-back conventions.
Yup.
And it's back-to-back large-scale conventions at that. With PAX East and Anime Boston.
Exactly. And I will be working PAX East, and then I will be pressed for Anime Boston, so I will be running around like a crazy person.
I think Anime Boston's going to be fun this year, especially since they have been. It feels like they're focusing heavier on Japanese guests than they are the English guests.
So they're kind of taking a page out of the Animazement book because they've always more focused on Japanese cultural guests and sometimes voice actors, but predominantly Japanese culture guests than they do more any of the others.
Last year they had 14 English voice acting guests. A bunch of Holo Live. They're bringing Holo Live back again this year. So far this year, they have 6 voice acting guests, US, 1 Japanese voice acting guest, 3 Japanese musical guests, and Kazuya Shiba from
Yep.
Japan.
Last year they had a manga artist as one of their guests, and that was one of the press interviews I did. And now we've got a side rail comment. But Ross in the chat says, this might be a one-sided answer for my question, but am I the only one here who is excited to see Ghostbuster Frozen Empire in 2 weeks? Not gonna lie, I never got into the Ghostbusters franchise at all, just never grabbed me.
I loved the first one. The second one was okay. The cartoon was meh. I heard so much bad stuff about the women Ghostbusters that I decided it wasn't worth my time to watch. And I don't know, the only saving grace kind of in this one is that they're bringing back, some of the original cast. But at the same point in time, that's not always enough to make a movie good. Because we've seen them try stuff like that in the past and the movie just sucked.
Good and enjoyable are not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
but I am still excited for Anime Boston, and especially the latest voice acting guest Yukana. I think that'll be a fun one. I wish I still had my Infinite Stratos DVD. I would have her sign it, knowing that
You
she
already
was
got rid of
Cecilia.
it?
No, I'm not sure. I think I had let somebody borrow it, and I never got it back.
Oh,
One of those cases. Plus, I'm not sure where all the DVDs are. They might be in storage. But I have
so
to.
you
I would,
may still have it, you just don't know where.
yeah. But Ghostbusters, I love the song. And the fun fact that Ray Parker Jr.'s Ghostbusters wasn't originally supposed to be the theme song for that movie. It's supposed to be something else. I forget what happened. I did see a clip about that. Ross says Doug, the receptionist, Annie Potts returns as Gene in Ghostbusters Frozen Empire as a Ghostbuster. I did see like some clips from that. But again, I'm not sure if it's enough to make me want to watch the movie. Also, I don't really have the time to go to the movies and stuff right now anyway. So if I do watch it, it would be after it's out on video on Netflix or Hulu or something of that nature. Or Darren goes to watch it and then sends me the live video feed from the theater.
Which is totally illegal, but I'll send you 2-second clip.
And I don't think that they have like the panels and stuff up for Anime Boston yet, so I'm not sure what's going to be going on panel wise, but Ross says it's by Sony, so many years for streaming release. Sony just dips their hand in everything. Sony and Disney.
And Amazon for what that's worth.
But that's all stories for another time. Now, knowing that PAX East is what, 2 weeks? We are on the 10th. So yeah, 2 weeks for PAX East. What's the hype for PAX East this year?
Actually, it recently got announced that the keynote presentation on Thursday is being done by Matt Pat, who is, bear with me, trying to find the official, Matt Pat, creator of game theory. So that's kind of been the big hype. The other big hype is Final Fantasy 14 and Final Fantasy 16 will both have panels.
Any good tabletop news coming out?
Nothing specific to PAX that I am super aware of.
But there could always be bombshells dropped.
Yep. There could always be bombshells dropped. I'm sure I'll know more leading into the event.
Will they have the gotcha world at PAX?
Oh, the
Things
gotcha.
like gotcha games like Honkai Star Rail or
Um,
Genshin
I
Impact.
I don't know. The answer is it's entirely possible. Um, but I haven't really. I've been not keeping as up to date as I should. I'll get back to you on that. And going
Back to chat.
back to chat from John Knight. 3 more days until Megan Shipman's birthday. The voice of Anya from Spy Family,
And Maple and Bo
among other
Fury.
things. I forgot she was Maple in Bo Fury. And Sasha in Attack on Titan final season. From Ross, went on a lunch date yesterday with a friend and went to Barnes Noble and got 2 animes for give or take $120 that he always wanted to get, but were always too expensive, plus some manga. Blu-rays, $60 a piece. And that's right. Shout out to Mario, who recently had a birthday, at least according to Facebook.
Yes. Happy birthday to Mario. And happy birthday month to my stepdaughter and to my wife. My stepdaughter's birthday was earlier in the month, and my wife's is towards the end of the month. And we are less than a month away from our 10-year anniversary.
Thank you for reminding me. My 10-year work anniversary was 2 days ago.
Ross says, "Happy birthday, everybody." And Darren, congratulations. I'm sorry.
Pretty much. Hey, at least I get an invite to the Angus barn next year.
Ross got Call of the Night and redo of Healer.
Tell me how that uncensored version works out, Ross.
You know, it's funny. I went out Friday night with a bunch of friends, and as most of us are anime nerds, and with the seasons about to shift, we actually got to talking about some of this stuff, and Call of the Night was one of the ones that came up, and one of my friends basically said the same thing to me that Darren did, was that yes, it gets better, but if you didn't like the first couple episodes, yeah, don't bother.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because it does get better. The storyline does pick up. But
But it
at the
all
same
feeds
point in
upon
time,
the stupidity of the two main characters, at least according to my friend.
yeah.
Pretty much.
If you couldn't enjoy how the two main characters play off each other the first couple episodes, they don't get much better from that. Spoiler alert, though, because Ange, I know you probably won't go back and watch the series. That kind of, I call it the iconic scene in episode 1 where he's going to buy the beer and she standing there and he kind of like slowly turns to stare at her. They showed that same scene again in the last episode, only the roles are reversed because he's trying to find her at that point and she's at a beer vending machine. And so you kind of get the same play off of each other, but the roles are reversed in that last episode, which I thought was kind of a nice thing. And Mario in the chat says it does get better.
Yeah, and I'm not even like everything Doug used to try and sell me on it was accurate. The art, like I said, I've said it before. I'll say it again. The art was gorgeous. The music was perfect. I could
The
not
story
get,
didn't grab her.
and I couldn't get past the two main characters, to me, feeling very flat and two-dimensional and no redeeming qualities.
So what you're saying is the main female character had no plot.
It was not for me, but you know what? It had a following.
Mm, I like the plot. Though I have to say, certain ones, it doesn't matter how much plot they have. So long as
Oh,
they
I
got an
know.
adorable, so long as they got an adorable face.
Oh, I know. I'm just poking fun. Um, but knowing how, uh, and I know I talk about free run a lot, but I do kind of give kudos to a manga slash anime that has a running gag that sticks through the entire show. And in Freerin, it's the mimic chest. And I'm sure everybody
I
has seen the
the memes.
memes Freerin just kind of her butt sticking out of a mimic. That happened.
It's
It started in
no,
episode 1, episode 26. It's still there.
it's no different than Aqua sticking out of a frog
Pretty much.
or any other animal for that matter. Well, not animal, monster. How many times was she eaten?
I don't know, but we probably get to see her eating more in season 3 that's coming up.
I was going to say the answer is probably too many.
And uh, a fun little thing, thinking back to conventions that we've attended. My wife and I were talking yesterday, I think it was, or earlier today, remembering back to AAC, and there was an Attack on Titan cosplayer who went around the entire weekend eating potatoes. And I think I don't know remember if you were at that particular AAC that weekend, Angela, or not, but I think we talked with her, and as of like Saturday night, she was on her fourth baked potato, and she doesn't even like potatoes, but she liked the character so much that she went around actually eating baked potatoes. That right there is dedication to the cosplay.
Um, nope. There's moments of cosplay that I will never forget. One was running around the BCEC at PAX one year dressed as Mercy from Overwatch. And this was the year all of the Mercy and Genji memes happened. All I wanted to do was go put stuff in my car so I didn't have to carry it anymore. But it took me 45 minutes to get to the door because I kept getting stopped for pictures and having to pose. And then I finally was able to move again. And then I get spotted by someone cosplaying Genji, who, of course, said the line. And, of course, another half an hour. I'm slightly exaggerating, but not by much, but because that was like the big Overwatch meme of the time. Cosplay is a lot of fun. Cosplay, you have to account for nonsense like that.
And you never know what's going to happen when you're in cosplay. And I know I've talked about cats are knocking something over. I know I've talked about this experience before on the show, but Anime Boston one year I was cosplaying as Natsu Dragneel from Fairy Tale. And my wife and I are walking through one of the main hallways and the Heinz, and there was a gray cosplayer that was standing there, and I couldn't remember the name of the character, but he and I just happened to lock eyes, and we didn't stop staring at each other until we literally were like passing, until I literally was passing by, and it was just gray. He was like Natsu, and we just kept on walking. It was just like so perfectly in character for both of us because of the like they were friends, but they hate each other. And I have no idea who that cosplayer was. Never seen them before. Haven't seen them since. But man, that was just such like it was an epic experience to be in
Uh,
cosplay and have that happen.
yep. Oh, I've had a moment like that as well. Final Fantasy, we had an entire group that we all got to know each other ultimately because one year we were all cosplaying as various Final Fantasy characters.
And Nunya Business in the chat says, sounds like talking about the Attack on Titan cosplayer. Sounds like she could have just had the potato as a prop and or a piece of bread disguised as a potato. No, it was an actual potato that she was carrying around and eating. Because you can tell that I mean, most people know what potatoes look like, like a baked potato wrapped in foil looks like, and this was a baked potato. She had it in foil and just right in front of everybody as she was walking, just eating this. Not bread. It wasn't anything fake. It was real potato. I think she went through 6 that weekend.
But yeah, no,
And at
cosplay.
some point, we'll get Darren to cosplay, and he can have some stories like that as well.
Yeah, eventually.
Eventually, we'll figure out how to get him to do his favorite to cosplay his favorite character, Zenobia.
Me, not much of a cross player, but Kumagawa Masogi, I would do that one. That or Izuyoi.
How about Nico?
No.
It's been a
Nico?
long time since we pulled that one out, Darren.
I know. Nico, not happening.
None of your business says Darren crossplay is Rias.
No.
Just
Let
that
me
response was great.
no. Let me if you're gonna have me crossplay, have me do it as what's her name? Oh, Mikoto Urabe.
If Darren was going to crossplay, he would probably end up dressing up as a bunny girl. Like Bunny Girl Senpai or Problem Children or something of that nature.
Or do some variant of the Pokemon evolutions.
Sorry, that's more Doug and Leanne's thing.
We've actually talked about doing like Evolution cosplays. Actually, we got married dressed as Evolution. So who am I kidding?
That's my point.
Agreed. Did you see the year AJ and some of his friends did the what they referred to as gentleman evolutions, where they all did suits?
I did see photos of that, yes.
And Mario says, can't wait for Nico with bunny ears.
You know, Photoshop is a wonderful thing. We could always like get a picture of Darren and Photoshop him in a Nico outfit with bunny ears.
I do not have that kind of skill with Photoshop.
No, but I know somebody who does. But I won't be that mean to Darren.
I used to be able to do Photoshop, but nothing like that.
And Ross says that Darren wants to cosplay as Akano.
No. The closest cosplay I would probably get in from DxD, maybe Kiba or Azazel or or that what's his name?
And
Sozek.
Mario says to Ross, "Actually, that's a wonderful idea."
And John Knight in the chat wants to know, Darren, how much hentai anime fan are you?
Look, I talk about hentai, but I don't watch it like that. I like the ones that actually have a genuine romance, or I
Interspecies
like
reviewers.
ones that have a genuine romance aspect to them. I don't like your typical. I'm not a huge hentai person as much as I talk about it.
And Ross says, sorry, I meant Kokono.
I was about to say you spelled Konako wrong, Ross.
Yeah.
I'm not. Now, Coconuts I'll cosplay as from. Man, my head is drawing a blank on so many shows. Dagashi
Nekopara?
Kashi.
Oh.
I'll cosplay as Coconuts.
Oh my!
No.
We've fallen down the D-Gen rabbit hole in the chat tonight.
No, let me give you an example, Nanya.
Conception.
No, that's not hentai.
And why did we have to bring that into this?
Because why the heck not?
Ross says, "Fruit of Evolution" or Dagashi Kashi?
It was Dagashi Kashi.
I'm confused.
Okay, here's one.
Fruit of Evolution was good.
Fruit of Evolution, no.
No, it wasn't good, or no, you have no desire to
Both.
cosplay from it.
Both. It was one of those ones that you love to hate. It was that bad.
John Knight says he hasn't seen it, and I'm right there with him.
Fruit of Evolution was good in some retrospects. Absolutely stupid in most aspects. When you have the idea of a gorilla that turns into a hot chick. And like half of the girls in the anime are animals.
No.
And it's not even like the anthropomorphic like animal girls and stuff.
No.
They just go from animal, like full on animal form to full on female form.
Yep.
And no.
The only one that works with is dragons. And I will admit, dragons have some of the best transformations.
Bunny girls seem to do all right, but I think we've also been just kind of programmed, thanks to like Playboy bunnies and stuff of that nature. Those kind of outfits that we've seen for years. You know, that I think that's why that works as well.
Well, also, like I said, with dragons are also known to be shapeshifters. So, I mean, Opus was one of the biggest shapeshifters.
I went back and started rewatching Restaurant to Another World because I'd seen like a story or a meme somewhere or like a video short talking about it, and I was like, I forgot how much I enjoyed that. And I forgot that one of the waitresses that ends up working at that restaurant was a dragon girl. I like the demon girl better in that one. That's one of the few cases where the dragon girl she's not bad, but I like one of the other characters better.
Okay, none of your business. To respond to that one you said earlier, First Love, maybe? I think that was a good one. I don't remember. Like I said, I don't watch them very often.
Now that we've gone completely off the rails, and I don't even think it was Ross's fault this time.
No, it wasn't.
It was Darren. And actually, I think this time it was Nunez. But I'm just going
Yeah.
to share the screen here for a moment to show off the two waitresses. This is a fan art of the two characters. But the blonde hair is a demon who's the first waitress that gets hired, and then the black hair is a black dragon. Like I said, I kind of like Aletta, the blonde hair girl, better than the other one. So this is one of the few times that the dragon girl is not my top pick. Nanya says,
Okay,
I
nope.
am to misbehave.
And Ross is actually taking credit for it.
I missed that comment, Ross. Ross says, I have permanently changed my mind, Mario. Darren should crossplay as Setsuna from Redo of Healer.
No. No, I'm not playing no Ice Wolf.
That even got a smile out of Angela.
How did we miss that? Was it a lag or?
I think we were just focused so much on Nunya's comments that we overlooked.
I think there might have been a lag. Some stuff came up all at once, and for me, I just kind of missed it because of where it went in the order. But
I've been looking for other shows to respond to his comment with, but I really can't find any. Because, like I said, I don't watch it like that.
see,
You just don't watch it. I know.
not my jam.
What show is that?
Just
All of it.
hentai in general, not my thing.
Yeah, same here. I really don't know anything about hentai outside of what they talk about on Trash Taste.
Oh, here's one I forgot about. There's a whole bunch of these. Lovely Execution, Pretty Execution.
And Ross in the chat says, okay, reality question, because you guys probably have to work during that time, but who's ready for the double eclipse coming in April? I didn't even know that we were getting one.
Yep. Certain parts of the U.S.
So, total solar eclipse will darken the skies from Texas to Maine on April 8th.
Oh, Lord, I forgot about this one.
According to NASA, cities in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Doug, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and small parts of Tennessee and Michigan will experience the total solar eclipse.
Oh, so there's a good chance I could be working in darkness during the day.
Yep. I will probably, being in Boston, I will probably experience very little, if any. Because I'm not even close to the border anymore. That's one of those. I've heard people talking about it, but with everything going on, kind of forgot about it. To kind of bring it back to the point.
Yeah. That's more of a style that you're into, Darren?
Somewhat, yes. Because, like I said, there has to be romance. And in this particular one, there is. if I remember correctly. It's been a long time.
Now, randomized question for the chat. Knowing that we're going to be covering Anime Boston, what kind of content would you be interested in seeing from Anime Boston? Cosplayer interviews. Obviously, we're going to be getting some of the press conferences with the celebrities and stuff of that nature. But what other kind of content would you like to see us post on our YouTube page? Because we are going to get some YouTube exclusive stuff from AB as we have done in the past. Also, is there specific things that you would want to see from Anime Boston? Panels, cosplay meetups, things of that nature.
What?
Hi, AJ. Is it? Do you want to see Angela go around asking questions on some of the videos? Have her do some of the hosting. Ross says, "Remember, keep it clean, Darren, because families are watching."
PG-13 for today.
Hey, look, I throw the name out there. Whether or not they research it is up to them. Oh, speaking of which, funny story. And totally unrelated. We had a new kid start today. He was in the kitchen. He couldn't understand what I was saying. I said, I need Supremes. Okay? As in chicken tenders. He said, all I heard out of you, it sounded like cream. I'm like, sir, I'm not talking about hentai. He's like, I'll have to look that up when I get home.
And then he's asking PG-13 from the 1980s.
At some point, when schedules allow, we'll do another 18+ show.
Sir, this is a Wendy's.
And perhaps see if we can get some of our favorite guests to join us.
Oh my God. I don't know how off the rails a show would go if we had Jason Moulton and Julia.
That's exactly where I was going.
Oh my God, how off the rails would that go? That could be really good or really, really bad.
Let's do it.
Agreed.
And I'm not sure. I don't know if Token with the Dead knows Jason or not. Just because I know that Jason had burned some bridges up in the New England area. But if we could get the Token with the Dead guys on as well, all crap would break loose.
So you want me to lose my temper?
We gotta get the Token with the Dead guys back on just so Angela can be here for one.
Yes.
Now watch the schedules not align to the point where the next time they're on the show, I'm elsewhere or on an airplane.
Sure, why not?
Then they'd be convinced that you were avoiding them. And they actually, speaking of conventions, they were at a convention this weekend. Northeast Comic-Con in Boxborough, Mass. Was this weekend.
I say I'm going to attempt to pull some shenanigans from PAX while I'm not working. But the BCEC does not like my electronic devices. The Wi-Fi in the convention center is hot garbage. So I make no promises.
And I did reach out to our friends Hatake and Sahara about coming on the show to talk Anime Boston. Unfortunately, they are in crunch time because once again they are going to be competing in the Masquerade in the Masters division. Although interesting news that uh, I heard from them, they, as along with some of their competitors from the Masquerades, are looking at doing a podcast. So once I get more information on that, I'll be sure to pass it along. And of course, we'll have them on to talk about it and promote their show as well, because I think that would be kind of neat, especially for anybody out there who's interested in getting into cosplay or trying to, learn new tricks and things like that. Obviously, anybody who has seen the show over the past 10 years knows that they are no strangers to the show. And since going video, we've been able to showcase a lot of the outfits that they've worn and things of that nature. So I think that's really exciting. A lot of people starting podcasts now. Where were they 10 years ago?
I mean, as a format, podcast really kind of exponentially grew as a direct result of COVID.
Pretty much. And here
I
we
mean,
are, still plugging away.
I mean, you had internet radio, which had its following, but I could deep dive into some of that, and then YouTube, and then we could get into a history of YouTube. But podcasting, as we know it today, really kind of didn't become super mainstream really until COVID.
And now almost feels like everybody does podcasts. I know of at least 3 NASCAR drivers who have podcasts.
Well, to be fair, every radio station I listen to always like tune in on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts, and I'm just like, it's everywhere.
Indeed. I mean, there's football players have a podcast.
Mm-hmm. And Ross, damn you! Now I have that song stuck in my head.
You got the lyric wrong, I think.
He got the lyrics. He got the lyrics wrong. But
Is it
he
what I
might
think
have done
it
it
is?
on purpose.
Yeah, I got
it is.
rickrolled.
Okay,
Yeah,
Ross
we
rickrolled
got
the chat.
we got rickrolled. Yep.
Okay.
And no, you would not break the stream. I would.
And Nunya said 2 years ago you had a guy on for a midweek stream that had an internet radio show he plugged, but it hasn't had a new broadcast since.
I think I remember that one. It was an 18 plus show kind of deal, or 17 MA. Angela wasn't around for that one.
I was gonna say I don't remember this at all.
It wasn't Jason Moulton, was it? Because he had his show that he was doing.
I don't think so. At Ackley Attack.
Oh, okay, Ben Ackley.
I believe that's the one he's talking about.
He still does post stuff on his channels. Because I keep seeing, I think he does more on like Twitch, or maybe not Twitch, but like Instagram, YouTube Shorts. I've seen some stuff, and he does a lot of like Facebook posts of the outfits that he wears, like cosplays and stuff. And I'm trying to think, Scott Hare we had on during one of our anniversary shows. He was a big influence in the start of AZR. And I know he had talked about that he was looking at bringing his show back. When I was a co-host on Crossing the Void, that was considered internet radio, not so much podcast like we do now. And And before you know it, Darren will be doing a podcast about lawn care, and Angela will be doing a podcast about tabletop.
I will probably do a YouTube channel or Instagram kind of deal, like all these other small businesses are doing. Because I'm sorry, but some of these things that are popping up are incredibly annoying. Even though I know they're trying to push content, they're making so many rookie mistakes that it's driving me nuts. And because I'm not on Instagram, I can't comment on them.
Angela looks like she's deep in thought or deep in research.
No, I'm
That's
trying to.
that's dangerous.
No, I'm actually trying to remember the name of Jason Moulton's show because I was trying to look it up, and I can't. And it's bugging me because I can't remember.
John, I would if I had time. I don't have time. But believe me, that also stuck with me because that was the one show my dad would stand behind my shoulder and watch with me and actually get involved enough in it to where I felt like he was actually paying attention. And yes, I mean Dragon Ball. And ironically enough, his brother's kids were very into the series to the point my aunt knew basically all about Dragon Ball because she watched it with them growing up. And for the most part, I think his brother knew quite a bit about it too. But hey, I watch Dragon Ball clips whenever they come across my feed for the most part, be it old or new.
I forget the name of his show as well. I'm looking back through his Facebook page. It's like I don't see it anywhere.
But None of your business says that they would watch lawn care. Darren already knows my feelings on a lot of people's misconceptions. And then Ross, did I ever tell you guys a few weeks ago that Paramount is making a sequel series to Fairly Odd Parents?
Yes, you
I
did.
know. I was going to say I didn't remember if it was you specifically, but I remember that coming up.
They just need to let a lot of these things die because they're just peddling old ideas because they're out of original ideas at this point.
And it's all about money, and they're trying to capitalize on the nostalgia factor.
At least with anime, they try to be creative. They try to do something different, even if it involves a lot of the same concepts. They try.
Like for example, they did Mean Girls, the movie, inspired a Broadway show. Then I think it just released. They made a movie, basically a reboot based on the Broadway show of a movie for Mean Girls. And it's like, but why? The movie's not that old to begin with.
Because they can.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think Disney's CEO came out and said that Disney needs to quit focusing on remakes.
They do. Let's get some original stuff out there.
Like, some of the live action adaptations of the classics have been amazing. Some have been mediocre at best. Yeah, Ross, I didn't watch a lot of Nickelodeon shows to begin with because that was kind of after my time.
I didn't
But
have cable, so I didn't have
but it's
access to a lot of them.
but it's one of those they don't need to.
Yeah, they don't really need to keep doing this stuff. I mean,
Like,
I guess you could say the same thing about anime.
but like the comment is that there's rumors of a sequel series where Doug and Patty get married and have kids. But it's like we've seen that done with all of the stuff, a lot of the popular shows out of the late 80s into the 90s. They're doing reboots and sequels of like the 20 years later,
Probably
if
one of
you
the
will.
probably one of the best shows that they've come out with in recent years that tied knots at the end of the series, and the, it left closure to where hopefully they don't come back with a whole lot of stuff, and that was Phineas and Ferb.
Like in recent years they did it with Full House, they did it with Boy Meets World.
They tried what Girl Meets World, and that bombed.
Fuller
Fantastic.
House was Fuller House again. And
They're coming out with another Police Academy movie talking about sequels that don't need to happen.
exactly.
Data Bullet didn't need to happen.
To be honest, Mob Psycho season 3 didn't need to happen, but it worked out fabulously.
They're doing it with Wizards of Waverly Place.
Whoa.
It's
Oh,
like
I did hear about that. Wasn't that the one that Selena Gomez was a part of back when it
I
was around
believe
the first time?
so. I never saw it because
Uh,
the Disney Channel shows were all kind of after my time.
Probably the one that sticks around my head rent free is Zach and Cody.
Um,
The Sweet Life on Deck was not. They should have just left it at the Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
like my little sister watched Lizzie McGuire, and obviously I know of the existence of a lot of these shows just from the internet, but
iCarly, I
Oh,
think, was another one that they talked about bringing back. And some of these I only know because my ex-wife had a kid that was like 12 and would watch these shows at that
I,
time.
I can tell you two shows they're probably never going to try and reboot.
one
Hannah Montana.
and two.
That's a Raven.
Uh, didn't they already
They
spin off
tried, yeah, they
That's a
tried to
Raven?
do another Raven one.
Oh, that's right. They did. I forgot about that.
Didn't um and as for Hannah Montana, well, there's a reason for that.
Oh, I know.
We don't need any more Miley Cyrus's running around.
But the Disney, you see, since I never had cable, I had to wait till the weekends to get anything Disney related. Like on ABC, they would have a Disney block. It normally consisted of The Replacements, which was an interesting show as it was. Do y'all ever heard of that one?
I have heard of The Replacements. I never watched it, but I have heard of it.
It was
Uh,
actually, it wasn't that bad. I mean, it
uh
was The Replacements, uh, uh, Raven, Hannah Montana, Zach and Cody, and there's something else I'm forgetting.
ABC Kids, says John
Yes,
Knight.
yes, thank you, John. Because you had the kids WB, you You had Kids WB and you had ABC Kids on the weekends on free TV because we never wanted to pay for cable. Uh, and the Kids WB over the years had so many shows. And they had more anime actually toward the beginning than they did toward the end.
And
Back in the day,
ABC
yes,
Kids
they
had
had Power
Power
Rangers.
Rangers.
Yes, they did.
Speaking of Power Rangers,
Another series that gets milked.
agreed. There's an anime upcoming this spring season that actually looks like it's going to be a Power Rangers like show, and it's on our watch list.
Ross, I only watch Shaolin Showdown.
I've never heard of any of these.
Shaolin Showdown, you'll probably recognize. It's the little yellow monk character.
No idea what you're talking about.
I don't know
You-
that
you-
one either.
Oh, come on. Well, maybe it's just iconic to my time, but
That might be a generational thing.
Because you are a bit younger than us.
true. Oh, look. Hold on. Let me see if I can find something here.
Ross, you're losing me here. Timo Supremo, Super Robot Monkey, Team Hyperforce Go. What? This makes no
No.
sense.
Yes, I've heard of the stuff, but I never watched it.
At least you've heard of it.
Agree. Yeah. And John Knight says, Ross, you taking us back to the 2000s.
I mean,
Yep.
I could take you back even longer. Talking about Nickelodeon programming, growing up watching stuff like Danger Mouse. You can't do that on television.
Nope.
Double Dare. That's going back to the.
Legend of the Hidden Temple was my jam.
That was fun. And I used to love the game show Wipeout.
Yeah.
Nope.
The reboot was terrible.
See, I didn't watch a lot of I didn't watch a whole heck of a lot of TV in the 90s and early 2000s. It wasn't and none your business. I will take all of the Shingon Woo.
Yes.
I don't know what this means.
Basically, this was like Americanized anime almost. It's basically you have a Chinese monk and there's special artifacts and they are seeking them to keep them out of enemies' hands. And as a result, if both them or the enemy touch a Shingon Wu at the same time, they enter in what's called a Shaolin Showdown. They set the rules for whatever kind of showdown they want. The world shifts to accommodate the showdown. Whoever obtains the piece they're battling over first wins. And if they have their own Shingon Wu, they can use that throughout the course of the showdown.
So,
and it's actually very action oriented, very comedic. It was actually a really good series. The reboot was bad, but it wasn't the worst I've ever seen.
Ross, I was a teenage arc phase of the 2000s. Good Lord. That makes me feel old because the 2000s was basically my 20s.
Not me. Oh no, yeah, I think
I
early.
was gonna say you're not that much older than me.
No, I spent some of my 20s in the 2000s. Nico and Kiyoshi game playing idiot says Wipeout gives me memories. I used to love watching that.
See, middle 2000s, there was a cable channel called G4, and what we used to watch was Ninja Warrior when we could find it.
Oh, what about American Gladiator? Did you ever watch that?
I did not. However, that was one AJ absolutely adored. So there's an official documentary as well as an unofficial documentary.
On on the note of Wipeout, now that I think about it, when it first debuted, do you remember the show that debuted right behind it?
No.
I Survived a Japanese Game Show. They took 12 contestants and flew them out to Japan where they competed in a Japanese style game show. And you know how ridiculous the Japanese game shows get.
Yeah, and some of the censorship is definitely not the same as it is here in the US.
Well, let's just say, even though that show only lasted 2 seasons, it was actually quite entertaining. Basically, you had two teams, and the winners got treated to a reward. The losers had to do a punishment, and one of the punishments was actually cleaning the metro. That's the one that I remember.
Now I
So they were
remember a game
they
show
were
called
demonstration.
Blackout. There was a game show called Blackout that probably was it within the last like 10, 15 years that was um, around. And the only reason I really remember this is because they had a, a challenge where contestants had to go and put their note, like they had a glass box and there would be an item in the glass box, and the contestant in a pitch black room had to stick their nose into the box and smell what was in the box, and they could move on to the next thing. It was like 4 or 5 different items that they had to guess what the smell was. And in this one particular episode that I watched, the last box or case area that this person had to sniff, there was a dude sitting there bent over with his pants down and his butt pressed against the glass. And for whatever reason, I remember watching that going, why am I watching this? And why was that funny as all heck? Because I have a sense of humor of a 5-year-old, but we are almost out of time. We only got about 5 minutes left. But again, we want to thank everybody so much for tuning in tonight. We had a lot of fun talking about all sorts of stuff. Of course, the tragic news of Dragon Ball's creator passing away over a week ago now, but just was announced recently that happened. A couple of deaths in the anime world, with the sad passing of the voice actress we mentioned earlier as well. Of course, exciting news with us getting press for Anime Boston coming up at the end of the month. Of course, if you're going to be at PAX East, make sure you stop by and say hi to Angela at the Enforcer tables. She'll tell you where to go and how to get there.
Absolutely.
And that's before she gets to work.
Ross, absolutely. We actually touched on that briefly because both Doug and I watched episode 11 for Fluffy Paradise. I'm curious to see how they're going to end it. My guess is they're going to leave it open for a season 2.
They have to have a season 2. This show is too cute not to. We've seen a lot trashier shows get multiple seasons. This needs a season 2.
At some point, I'll probably post on the AZR Facebook page with a list of the shows I watched this season and some spoiler-free-ish commentary.
I would probably try to do the same as well when I have the time. My work schedule is going to be changing again this week, so I'm on the extra list. I'm not sure what my schedule is going to be.
But
And I know we touched very briefly on gushing over Magical Girls, Darren. I know you said that you've been watching that. Have you caught up to the latest episode?
Yes, I'm caught up to the latest episode. Yes, I saw it.
What is your take on this? I don't know what to call it. If it's anime, what exactly is it that we're watching?
S&M the animation.
Yeah.
And now question for mostly Ross, I think. We binged literally all of our anime, most of our backlog of this season's anime. Sign of Affection, episode 10, so good. Are you caught up with that, Ross?
Nope. I'm still several behind.
Isn't it adorable though?
Yes. But you talk about adorable, but y'all haven't watched Dangers.
To be fair, and Ross, I will agree with that 100%. I was not expecting this show to basically be our favorite for started this season.
Hey, it brought Mario back.
And speaking of Mario, happy March 10th, also known as Mario Day.
Yep. But yeah, no, we caught up on pretty much everything.
What other shows are we watching in contingency with each other or at the same time? Or are we?
My watch list has kind of shrank as the season has gone on. Like I said, I kind of stepped away a little bit from Banished from the Heroes Party. I may go back and revisit that again and finish it off, or maybe I'll just go back and watch it dubbed. Fluffy Paradise I'm watching, I'm caught up on. Freerin I'm watching, caught up on. Tales of Wedding Rings, I am one behind.
I have not started that one.
That one has actually been halfway decent. I mean, it's not world breaking by any stretch of the imagination, but it hasn't been horrible.
Well, we haven't had a world breaking anime since World Break.
Doug, have you been watching Mashal?
I have not.
Has Leanne?
She watched the first season. I'm not sure if she started the second season or not.
The second season. The second season, it's pretty predictable. Look up the intro song because Creepy Nuts.
Oh, Lance had that stuck in her head.
But I mean, the show's fun. Definitely a fun. It's basically It's basically
Just
a lot
say
of the
it.
shonen tropes, but Harry Potter.
But on that note, the clock has just sounded. We are out of time. Again, we want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. We've had a lot of fun. Join us again next week as we can see Angela pull her hair out as she gets ready for a 1-2 double shot of back-to-back conventions with PAX East, followed by Anime Boston. That being said, the Easter Sunday, the 31st, probably no show because we will be returning from Anime Boston and be exhausted.
Yup.
But at some point during the week after that, don't be surprised if we do an Anime Boston review show.
Precisely. Good.
But until next week, when we come back with more chaos, craziness, and extremely random topics, thank you again for watching. This has been Anime-Zing Radio right here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Have a great week, everyone.
Good night, everybody.